computer. Okay, James.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, welcome and good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Portsmouth Coffee Talks Evening Edition show. And I'm James Slim Overton, and I'm here with my co-host, Leah Drake Stitt, and Thomas the Colonel Chapman might come on. He's coming back from a vacation. He's en route and he's stuck in traffic, so he might come on. He might not. And I'm seeing too that a Dallas game is getting ready to come on, so we might not see might not see the Colonel. But anyway, but he might come on. So if he does, he'll step in. But we have a special guest with us, Attorney Kristen L. Hawthorne, and I'm going to let Leah introduce her.
Christian, sometimes he knows me, sometimes he does not. We just go with the flow, okay?
Of course.
We love each other just the same, right, James?
Yes, we do. Yes, indeed.
Well, first of all,
blame it to my head, not my heart.
How about that? Before I introduce Christian, I want to say Habari Ghani, happy Kwanzaa. This is the 4th day of Kwanzaa, where we celebrate Ujamaa, which is cooperative economics, and this is a commitment to the practice of shared social wealth and the work that's needed to achieve it. So happy Kwanzaa to all of those out there in Facebook land who will be celebrating the holiday during this holiday season. I am extremely, extremely, extremely happy to introduce our guest this evening, and none other than Kristen L. Hawthorne. Kristen is a Norcom graduate, and she was one of our cheerleaders as well. So there you go. Let the dog bark, James.
I still got the bark.
You still got the bark.
It's a slower bark, but it's a bark.
It's a bark. Kristen attended Virginia Tech, where she majored in psychology. She also worked at Virginia Tech. She went on to Indiana University, the Murrah School of Law, where she graduated. She is an Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated member. She's practicing law in California at one of the largest international law firms in the nation, specializing in trademark and copyright litigation and enforcement. That's a lot. Oh, your mother has already come on, Kristen. Your mother's already on. You know that. But Kristen, that's saying a lot, because coming from Tidewater, we don't hear people saying that they want to go into international copyright, trademark, and litigation. We don't hear that. You know, everybody is talking about being a public defender or being a prosecutor. Share with us, how did you leave little old Portsmouth and decide that you wanted to do this type of law?
Well, thank you, Mr. Overton, for the introduction and for having me here, first and foremost. It's a great pleasure, it's an honor to come back and speak to people from the hometown. Yes. I love Portsmouth, I love our city, and I just, the mantra Portsmouth is for people really is a thing, and it just kind of sticks with me. And so it's kind of what serendipitous how I got into IP, intellectual property, IP for short, and entertainment law. I initially went to law school. Funny thing is, this is a funny story, and I don't think a lot of people know this story, but my grandmother, Joyce Watson, who used to work downtown.
Joyce Cherry Watson.
Joyce Cherry Watson.
Thank
yes,
you.
That's my grandmother. I come from a line of greyhounds.
Yes, you do.
Althea Jones, and my family and my parents and my siblings, and so I actually went to her downtown to see Attorney Moody one time. And this was right after I graduated Virginia Tech. And I was still trying to figure out, do I want to get a master's degree? Do I want to pursue a PhD and get my doctorate? I was already started doing undergraduate research. And he happened to tell me, he just planted the seed in me. He said, you should go to law school. Mm-hmm. And I laughed. I thought it was the most hilarious thing, because I'm like, law school was not not on my radar whatsoever. But when I tell you, all the doors that I was applying to were shutting in my face. And I graduated with honors. I was, an achiever. I was involved on my campus. I was a student leader. My credentials were there, right? And I just couldn't understand why the applications and the programs that I was applying to, the doors were just not opening for me. So I thought about it. I did my research. I had already started doing an independent research project at Virginia Tech. And so he said, you graduated with honors, you're doing research. And I was expressing to him how I wanted to do applied research where I can help people. And I didn't want to just, theorize and teach someone and just, write articles. Like that it just didn't feel like I was making an impact that way. And so he really planted the seed in me. He said, you should go to law school. And I laughed him off at the time. Poor thing. And I took to it. I took it back in prayer. I prayed on it. I sought people that work in law school already and asked them, what the process was and what was law school about and what does it really mean to be a lawyer, because no one in my family was a lawyer and I didn't know any attorneys. I didn't really understand, the process and what does it mean to be a lawyer. And so after I did my research, I figured, okay, maybe I might be really good at this. I think maybe I'm already pre-qualified. Like this kind of like fits my personality. And so I went to law school. I applied to maybe 13 law schools and got into every single one. And I ended up getting a full ride scholarship to law school.
Wow.
And that's when I knew, okay, Lord.
Yeah, that's
this
your
is
calling.
exactly where I need to be.
Yes.
And I'm going to follow you and be obedient. And even when I started law school, I didn't have IP and entertainment first of mind. I thought I wanted to be a guardian ad litem, which is in family cases or, children in foster care, they go to the courts and you have someone who actually there is representing the child, not representing the parent and the child, but there's an attorney that's there to represent the child so that they can, advocate on their behalf specifically for what's in the best interest of the child. And I thought in my head, where I'm from, okay, this is how I can make an impact on my community and this is how I can give back. And I shadowed a family law judge, bless her heart. My first semester of law school, she told me, she said, this is not what you're going to want to do. And I was like, what do you mean? She was like, it's very taxing. It's very emotionally taxing. And you're not going to be able to make the changes that you think you're going to make because there are laws in place and you can only do but so much. And so after shadowing her, I really understood what she meant by that. And I realized that, no, I don't want to do family law. I do not want to become a guardian ad litem. And I happened to stumble into an intellectual property association and entertainment presentation in my first semester, end of first semester, beginning of second semester at law school. And they were doing a presentation on representing the publicity rights of Marilyn Monroe and James Dean and how they, whether or not you can leverage their brand and whether you can use their artwork for certain things. And at Norcom, I was a part of the television production class. So I did television production. I also was in a local performing arts company. I was also in the band at Norcom. I actually started out as a majorette. Then I was
like your grandmother, like your mother, like your grandmother, like your grandmother.
My grandmother was a majorette.
That's right.
And then I was a dance girl for a short stint. Then I was a cheerleader, and I played sports. I played golf. I played softball. I had all of these backgrounds and talents. And I figured I wanted to mesh who I am as a person with my career. And so that's when I found my tribe.
When did you go to class? I guess you fit class in between all the other stuff.
Okay, I graduated third in my class. Okay, so I was still a scholar. I was a student athlete. Okay.
So you were in class. Okay, that explains it.
So I went to class. I didn't get a full ride to law school just based off, my good charm and my looks.
All those activities in high school, it was just amazing. But it probably shaped you to the person you are today, being involved in all those different activities.
Absolutely. Yes. The discipline, it really taught me discipline and time management, because there's no way you can do all of that and be successful at everything if you don't manage your time and understand what's important and keep the distractions out of the way. So that's pretty much how I've gotten to where I am with that philosophy. And that's how I ended up. From there on, I went into that meeting. I realized, no, this is exactly what I want to do. I want to do IP and entertainment because I feel like I can work with people that look like me and it'll be fun. And so that's how I ended up where I am.
Well, I'm telling you what, I'm thankful that is where you are. Believe me, more than you can ever imagine. So
no, really, but I didn't end up. So I didn't want to pigeonhole myself directly into IP entertainment. So I took every trademark class, entertainment law class that you could think of. I worked during law school. I worked at our student legal clinic so I can get, actual skill sets and build up my skill set while I was in law school so I can speak to that while I was interviewing for jobs and then on the job training. And so I didn't understand law school. That was another thing to navigate as well. I really value, and if there's anyone out there listening to this or or is interested in going to law school or just whatever it is that you want to do, I think that mentors are like the secret weapon to just success.
Yes.
Because, if you don't know what you don't know. And there was a lot that I did not know that I did not know. And I had one particular mentor who just took me under his wing and he said, a lot of people will tell you what to do, but a lot of people will not tell you how to do it.
Exactly.
And that just catapulted me and propelled me. And I just clung up with, if somebody doing something that I wanted to do, I would just reach out to them and go for it.
That's good.
So just go for it.
Let me ask you this before you get into the trademark and copyright and all that. And we had your brother on the show, Roger.
Yes.
And it was funny. He's into fashion, and I think he majored in political science or something like that.
Yes.
And then you majored in psychology, in
Yes.
grad and undergrad, and ended up in law. And I asked that because a lot of students, major in a certain subject, and they come out and they concentrate on that particular subject, but you don't necessarily have to go in that field. As actually that whatever field you go into, even if it's different from what you majored in, it can help you, because I can imagine being in psychology really helps you in the business that you ended up in.
Absolutely.
Now.
Absolutely, because it's a service industry. A lot of people don't look at it that way, but we are providing a service. I'm providing a service to people who represent companies and people who are representing themselves. And so, the quote unquote soft skills or the human interaction is what really is going to set yourself apart from the next person, right?
That's
from
right.
the next firm or the next attorney, right? And so, understanding that how to navigate people, and there's so many different facets of people and their personalities and their behaviors, and that at the end of the day you still have to provide them top-notch service. So using that background in psychology and understanding how people may
Personalities. That's
their
right.
personalities, and there are people they have mental health issues and people are on the spectrum, and that you have to continue to handle every single one of your clients with care. And so that is very informative in how I even approach, even working with at-risk youth in a therapeutic system. It's, I understand conflict management and de-escalating and not, escalating a situation or not letting my ego get in the way of a situation where, I can just go ahead and de-escalate or take it or understand when to speak up or how to say things. It's navigating this space where that's not taught. That's not something that's taught for everybody, and that's not something that anyone would just innately know, just by going to law school. So I definitely know for sure that my background in psychology helps, but I can thank I thought at one point in time I wanted to be a psychiatrist, and I thought I wanted to be like a doctor. And a family member of mine who's an ER surgeon, he's the one who actually told me, don't major in pre-med. You have all your life to do whatever these hard, rigorous, chemistry classes and things like that. But I still took those classes because at Virginia Tech, the psychology program, the college is within the umbrella of the College of Science. So we still had to take all the science classes, all the biology classes, all of the statistics and math classes. It wasn't oh, you just majored in this human science and it was escape for you. No, Virginia Tech is, it's an engineering school. So the school, I have a bachelor's of science degree. So I still had to take those rigorous classes.
You know what else is important, especially in your field of law? The gift of gab. And you have that. And we love guests like you that have the gift of gab.
James, I'm sitting here saying I don't need to ask any questions because she's giving us all the answers that we need right here, right now, at this time,
Thank you.
I do want you to, you talked about IP, which is intellectual property. And so explain how that is connected with copywriting and trademark and all that. it's all connected together. So
yes. So IP is just a big umbrella, right? And you have these different sections under the big umbrella. So you have copyrights, you have trademarks, you have patents, you have then you have different types of patents and different types of trademarks, etc. But it's just a big umbrella of what's called intellectual property because it's something that's intangible and you can't put your hand on it until you put your hand on it. Right. You can't put intellectual property. And so that's essentially what it is. And so you have different sections of the intellectual property. And what I focus on primarily within IP is trademarks and copyrights. And so just for a short, if you don't understand what a trademark is versus a copyright, I'm just going to give you a brief example. And so a trademark is any type of word mark that you use to identify whatever product that you or service that you're providing. So for instance, like I like to say, you know, Chick-fil-A, they have the Chick-fil-A mark, that's their trademark. And then they also have like a design mark. You can have a logo mark. The C, that's the design mark, or like Nike, the check, that's a logo mark. And your copyrights are things that are like music or artwork or pictures or photographs that you want to leverage and really stake your claim in. So what's so funny is about these trademarks and these copyrights is that your rights in them really arise once they're created. So if I took my phone and I just recorded a voice note or a song or something on my phone, because it's in this tangible form now, it's a copyright. It's already copyright. It's just not registered yet. And the same with trademarks. If I start using whatever, like let's say if I use my name, Christian LaShay, and I put, you know, and I start selling it on t-shirts, I've already started having, you know, trademark, right? I have common law trademarks and I just haven't registered it yet with the Patent and Trademark Office. So when a lot of people are mentioning, oh, you need to trademark that, they're really saying that you need to register your trademark because once you start using it, it's already
your trademark.
You already started using
it. Already have it.
Exactly.
So
like,
that's
just a tip.
Like I got this hat out. I got called the Slim Nation.
Yes.
I don't know if you can see it.
Yes,
so
exactly.
It's like a podcast I have, or you know, sort of like a brand I have. So that's something automatically. I just need to register. I just need to register it. So explain the process.
The process of registering your trademark. Right. So, okay, for instance, the Slim Nation. This is what I would do if you were to come to me. I say, okay, you want to register the Slim Nation for a podcast. And the first and foremost, you want to do a search to see what's out there on the registry. You want to see is somebody else using the Slim Nation or something close to it for a podcast specifically, right? Because the thing with trademarks is that you don't want consumers to be confused about the source of the goods or the services, right, that you're offering, which is why when you go to Chick-fil-A, their brand is so great because you know you're going to get my pleasure when you go to Chick-fil-A.
Exactly.
Compared to McDonald's, you don't get what you want.
What you want.
Right? Like, you know, so that's the importance of having the goodwill within your brand. So we're gonna take the first thing we're gonna do is take a look to see what's out there. It's called a preliminary clearance search and a full clearance search to see, you know, what potential risk or third parties may be, you know, a risk to you, because even though you're using it already and you've garnered rights, you know, within the geographic location of where you're using it, someone in Idaho may be using the Slim Nation for a podcast and you wouldn't have any rights to tell them to stop because you don't have a federal trademark registration. And that's the advantage of having it. And so if everything comes back clear, then we will go through and submit an application to register the trademark for a podcast specifically. And then we'll see, sometimes the trademark office pushes back and says that, oh no, this is confusingly similar to another mark on the registry or something else. And then this is my job, is to argue and submit arguments like a brief to the Patent and Trademark Office, expressing why it's not, you know, confusingly similar to another mark. And then once we overcome that, then we will wait, and eventually you'll get the registration.
So it's sort of like in the music industry where some people are saying, well, they've taken pieces of my lyrics, or they've taken my lyrics and used my lyrics, but I've done it first. I did it long ago. but they never got it trademarked or they never got a patent done. So what happens with
Right,
that?
it's similar to that because so I also do music clearance searches as well. I do entertainment law as well, and similarly with like music clearance searches, or if we're doing like a clearance search for a movie, right? In movies, you have to make sure you get the clearance and a permission to have ads or brands within the movie or the music that you're using in sync with the movie. You have to clear that with the authors, the writers, and the publishers, and so that can get really sticky really quickly. But yes, it's very similar. It's very similar, you know, when you are trying to use something or you say that you created something, but somebody has done it before, then you have to, with the trademark, you're trying to distinguish yourself from that person, right? And or their whatever goods or services they're offering. But with the copyright, it is whether or not it is similar to what they're using. Is it like, or is it sound alike? Does it look alike? Is there enough copying where it doesn't fall under what's considered fair use? Because there are certain things that you can use from a specific music or artwork or something that's not considered infringement. So it gets very nifty, and I'm not going to get into the weeds of things, but yes, very similar concept.
Think about that Robin Thicke and Marvin Gaye thing, you know.
Yes.
That was something, you know, to somebody like me, I could hear it and say, well, I didn't hear that in that, but you know, they made
and I'm on the other side. I feel like it did sound like the song to me.
Well, once it got started and they started talking about it, then I said, oh, I did hear that in there. But initially, you know, I wouldn't have heard that. But, you know, with the artists involved heard that. Well, that's similar to Got to Get It On. You know, I remember the song because I used to dance to it for about 20 minutes.
You tried to dance, James? Amazing. Amazing. Amazing.
Used to dance to the Marvin Gaye one. The record was about 20 minutes long. So
yeah.
Let it cut a rug.
I also have a question, which is very puzzling to me, and I haven't figured it out yet. With Facebook, if you're at an event and they play a song and you do a live video
recording,
and then they'll come back and they'll say, you don't have the rights to this music, but people put on their page, I don't have the rights to this music. Does that make a difference? I don't own the rights to this music. I mean, what difference does it make? You know, they know I don't own the rights to it. If I'm, you know, so what's with that?
It really depends. And disclaimer: this is not legal advice.
Okay, it's not legal advice. No legal advice. Just clarification. Just clarification. That's all.
Right. No, it really depends because you don't have the rights to reproduce. So that's a part of a copyright. That's a right that comes with the copyrights. When you own a copyright, you have the exclusive right to record it, produce it, reproduce it, distribute it, copy it, whatever you want to do with it, that is your exclusive right. So when you have someone else who is recording it and posting it online, that is technically infringing a copyright. And so when people are saying, I do not own the rights to this music, what they're trying to do is they're trying to make a disclaimer so that it falls under the fair use category, because they want to say that this is not commercial use. I'm not making any money off of it, because that's a factor as well. Is it commercial? What type of market impact is it having? Are you making any money off of it? All of that, these different factors that plays into whether or not you are actually infringing on someone's copyright or not. And so when people say, put the disclaimer and say, I do not own the rights, they're trying to make it known that I'm not passing off. I'm trying to give ownership to the copyright holder. I'm not the copyright holder. There is no association between us, and this is not for commercial use. Not own these rights. They got it.
I was always confused about that, you know. And then when they do, they take whatever you post and they will bleep out that little piece of music and go on. So, but I was just confused as to why.
And some artists or record labels are very like overprotective about their artwork and their work and their music, and then some maybe not, right? But I know a lot of people also have these bots that like scan the internet to see whether or not they get a flag or a hit, and then they're just enforcing it, I had gotten something on Twitter one time somebody from a record label, I got a notice from an attorney saying that I was infringing on the copyright, and it wasn't even the correct artist. It wasn't the correct artist, not the correct song or anything, and I had to, appeal it. But yeah, it can be very jarring, and these are the type of things that I do, right? I'm on the other end of that, where I'm enforcing against, like, things that are on the internet or Facebook or Instagram, and I am sending out takedown requests. And I'm sure people are upset at me about it, but if you don't have the right to use it, then it's just what it is.
That's true.
A lot of people are using the internet or social media now, content creators and things like that. Is it important for them to, especially if they are really, and a lot of people are doing it. That's why they can't find people to work in regular jobs, because everybody's on the internet creating content and getting monetized for it. So especially if you're going to get monetized, talk about how important it is to consult an attorney in the beginning before you get started, because you can start something and really be going with your brand.
Right.
And right in the middle of it, somebody else say, nope, I already had that. So, and you have to give up all of that. We talked about that with your brother when he was on.
That is extremely important. And I try to get people to understand, because I work with a lot of startups and also a lot of, a lot of the bigger tech companies. I work with on a range of clients, but especially with the clients, my startup clients, I really try to, enforce or drive home the importance of leveraging and protecting from the outset, making sure that your intellectual property and your brand, because this is one of the largest assets that you have, right? To leverage, it's your brand, it's your name, it's what you're marketing your services and your goods to consumers. And so from the outset, for instance, the Slim Nation, you don't want to put a lot of time, money, costs, energy behind protecting it and getting the trademarks and applying to register, because this costs money, right? This costs a lot of money. And now you've already, say you've already ordered merchandise, and you've ordered t-shirts and mugs and X, Y, and Z, and you have it on these flyers, and you have banners, and maybe you have this big brick and mortar retail store, maybe right, you going on tour and you're doing the Slim Nation podcast on tour, and finally somebody finds you and they say, wait a minute, we was doing this way back when before you. And so then they can come after you, and then now you have to, all the time, money, effort, now you have to pay somebody like me on the back end even more to try to either salvage your brand or help you rebrand, roll out a rebrand somehow, to where all the goodwill that you've built up with your consumers and your fan base is not totally lost, because now they know you as the Slim Nation, and then they may need to know you as the Slim Nation G, like something like something I don't know, OG, right? Like OG. Something OG, weird, right?
The OG of Slim Nation,
right? Exactly, like something different. So you want to make sure that you are in the clear from the outset. You don't even want to go down that rabbit hole. And this is what I express to clients as well. Is like, yes, it's going to cost money on the front end, but it's going to cost you way more time, energy, effort, and headache on the back end if you don't do your diligence up front to protect your brand and make sure you are covered before really going to the nations.
Because we know some people have started businesses and have it going well, and then all of a sudden now somebody comes up against them and tell them, no, you can't use this. This is ours. And then all the stuff that they have branded, they now have to rebrand, and they can't sell those items anymore. So they printed all these items, and they can no longer sell the items because someone else has stepped in and said, oh no, that's our brand.
Right. And there's sometimes, and it also depends on the company and the attorneys too. I know when we have clients that have fallen into a situation like that, and they come to us like on the back end, we try to negotiate some type of phasing out period. We're okay, you can sell the merch, you can try to get right, you can try to mitigate the loss that's going to happen right here, right? But maybe not everybody is amenable to that, and some people just, it's their brand, and they don't want to be, collegial or amicable when trying to settle something, and so you're at their mercy at that point. And I've seen that happen before, and it's very unfortunate. So from the outset, you want to make sure that you have a clean slate, that you have done your due diligence to make sure that not only your brand is okay to use, but that you are protecting it so that you can leverage it and you can stop other people from using it, for your same situation.
Yes.
I had a client, or a colleague of mine, she started a business. It was something like, for instance, like say her name was Everhue or something for makeup.
Mm-hmm.
And she started using it, and started building up a really great clientele. And then, for instance, it was someone else who was named their business like Everhues with the S on it for makeup. That is not not enough of a difference, right? And so, but she didn't have a trademark registration at the time, and so she realized, oh my goodness, like this person can out here and really be, they're copycats. People really are out here
Oh yeah.
copycats. And I'm like, okay, let's go ahead and try to hurry up. Now we're in a rush trying to get it protected so that she can actually enforce against this copycat. But that's what happens, and that's what happens when you're not prepared from the outset. Yep.
So, one question that someone asked me to ask you was, do attorneys need to apply for registration to practice before the USPTO in trademark matters?
No, we don't apply. So we just register with them. We may just, with a client that we have, we may just, file like an attorney correspondence. We represented our client, but it's not like with the patent. So the patents, those, if you're doing patent applications, yes, because that's different. You have to take the patent bar and pass the patent bar for that. And that's something separate than trademarks and copyright. So for trademarks and copyrights, you have to be an active practicing attorney, and
no bar exam for trademark attorney.
Not separately, no. It's not even on the bar exam itself. So it's completely different. It's not even on the bar exam itself.
I know one thing, Christian. My granddaughter is graduating this year. I hope she's on. I told her you were coming on this evening, but she and a fellow classmate who both were thinking about going to law school, and she was at turn saying, well, maybe I want to be a public defender. And she watched that for a while, and she said, oh no. Then she went to the U.S. Attorney's office, and she said, oh, well, maybe I want to be, with the U.S. Attorney's office. And she said, oh no. And when I mentioned about what you were doing, she and her friend just jumped through the roof. They were just so excited, because I don't think that they had thought about IP or trademark and all of this. And her father's in the sports business. And so she's saying, well, this is something she could do to help her father's business as well. So I'm hoping that she comes on so that she can hear how wonderful you are. And
thank you.
And she didn't get a chance to get down here to meet you. So
okay. Well, I'm happy to schedule a call with her. It is an area of law that, allows you to cross collaborate with other industries and overlap a lot of different industries. I work, I have sports clients, and I have entertainment clients. I have consumer goods and fashion clients, and so many different types of clients.
Is your brother one of your clients? That's what I want to know.
So
Mr. Fashion himself.
I do have different fashion clients, and those within that space. Tech clients, streaming clients. Like I had one of my most interesting cases that I worked on was for a Netflix case of Black Mirror. I'm not sure if anybody has seen, like they came out with like an interactive episode where you can pick and choose like which character, what storyline comes out. And Netflix was sued for a phrase that choose your own adventure by Choose Code, the creators of like this book that came out like in the 80s, where you can flip through and flip back and forth and choose like the ending of the novel. And so that was like one of my most interesting cases, and we ended up selling it, but it happens. And that was an entertainment client, something that was trademark related, but I also do like music clearance searches, and we had to go through and make sure that we had everything else cleared, through that case. And it helps you to overlap. It definitely overlaps with different industries. Even in law school, I took sports and entertainment law. I took sports and business law. And even like some of my colleagues who work for different sports industries now, they may contact me about something that's trademark related or entertainment related or media publicity related, right? Publicity rights. And what's really popular now that's coming out is like the name, image, and likeness for athletes and collegiate athletes and how they're going to get paid. And so you have all these different levels. Like, it's so much to IP media and entertainment that different areas of the industry that I touch on is really interesting. I even started working with clients and with like within the metaverse, right? And so they're trying to protect their images in the metaverse and their art in the metaverse and these NFTs, and how do you protect them? And it's just it's like the frontier.
How do you protect them?
We're still trying to figure that out, because a lot of the trademark and copyright offices, they haven't caught up to date. And so it's up to us. We're really on the front lines of like creating these interesting and crafty applications so that they get through. So, it's kind of the same from what I've already, you just make sure that you have protections within the artwork itself or within the name itself or the image itself. And then like, it's up to us to kind of come up with these crafty applications and make sure that we can have our clients' artwork and names and logos and IP protected within this meta world. It's so interesting.
So
let me ask you about, and you touched on patents a little bit. I don't know how much you deal with patents, but it's been horror stories about patents. The guy in his garage just making something to make life simple for him. Somebody else picks it up and makes $1 million off it. And even the smallest minuscule things that you might do that make it easier for yourself and your neighborhood, people in the neighborhood, you ought to think about looking into that, because people are ruthless out there when they see an idea that they think they might be able to market it, and they have become millionaires off other people's ideas.
Yes, and that is something else. I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm sorry, Mr. Overton.
Go ahead.
I'm glad that you mentioned that, because a lot of times I do have, clients who have these new inventions or these new ideas that they don't see, or they have these creations, or they write scripts and they want to shop them around to different agencies or different producers, etc. And my first question is, do you have NDA? Like, do you have an NDA?
They said, what are you talking about?
You have a non-disclosure agreement, which is an NDA. Somebody could just take your idea, because ideas are not protected. Like this concept, this idea, like anybody can take it and run with it. You have no type of protections for it. And so that's one way that'll be helpful. But also, as soon as you come up with some sort of invention or something, you need to start reaching out to somebody that does intellectual property work, specifically within patents, because that way they do kind of the similar process like trademarks. You want to research and see, is it another patent is similar? Do we need to change it or tweak it a little bit? Is it functional? And there's so many different factors that goes into getting a patent, but it's kind of the same process. You do the research, you see if with something out there similar, or maybe there's a risk that a third party that might give you pushback, and you assess the risk whether or not you want to go ahead and move forward. Most times you do, and then you just kind of see how it falls out in the wash if it's not so egregious, right? And then you go from there. But first things first, you want to make sure that you're protecting and at least have the application of the patent pending, so that you can, put everyone on notice that this is yours and that someone can't just take it and run with it and leave you in the dust.
And I'm a history guy. I'm a history guy, and over the years, especially with African Americans or Black folks, the cotton gin, and who gets the credit for Kentucky Fried Chicken?
Coca-Cola
and Jack Daniels.
So over the years, historically, we have been, deprived of some of the credit or monetary credit over the years over some things that we have, had a great hand in. So, so know your history. I always say, know your history. So that always takes you into further educating yourself about what you should do now.
Yeah, but also in light of the fact, I know as children growing up, we had a neighbor down the street, Mr. Pace. Mr. Pace was always inventing things. And we used to always say, are you going to put it on the market? He was making sweet potato fries when we were kids, bags of sweet potato fries. And and pretty soon later on, we see all of this on the market, people making sweet potato fries. And he had other things that he had invented that we experienced as children, but he never got a trademark. He never got patent. He never did any of those things. And then we see all of those things come to fruition later on, the very things that he shared with us when we were kids.
And it's not that he can't still get it. You know, it's not that there's only one manufacturer and one producer of sweet potato fries, right? It's just, you know, is yours different enough? Is your quality different enough? Is your brand different enough that you can offer it and be a competitor in the market? Because that's what keeps the marketplace going, is competition, right?
Yeah.
And so back to your point, Mr. Overton, you really touched on something that's very near and dear to me, is that, you know, in addition to just trying to pursue a career that was aligned with who I was as a person, for me, it was, you know, as a Black woman, I understand that just from our culture and our community, that we have been exploited for our talents and inventions.
That's right.
For centuries, and we continue to be exploited. And so if I can give back in a way, or try to help people that look like me to minimize and prevent that exploitation, and help them actually leverage and protect their brand, I'm happy. I've done my job. You know, this is like my ministry. I'm here. This is what I love to do. And so that's really like, you know, the pushing for me is like, yeah, it's great to work with the, you know, the larger companies. That's cool, and that's everything for me. But it's like, you know, we need to make sure that because a lot of times they stick things in your face, they stick contracts in your face. I have different entertainment clients, same thing. They're like, oh, I didn't know, you know, like I was like writing this show and I'm not getting a percentage. I didn't even know I was supposed to get a percentage. I didn't know what this meant. And I signed this and I didn't know what that meant. And now we're coming in on the back end trying to, you know, rectify the situation so that they're set up for success and that they're not taken advantage of, because we are taken advantage of so much just for the lack of knowledge. So I'm happy to be in a place where I can reach back and, you know, share the knowledge. I really try to take the time and explain, you know, what this means. And even if it's, you know, someone that's not a client of mine, but I know they're in the industry, I'm going to try to help you to a degree, right? Like, have you thought about this? Maybe you should look at this resource. Like, you know, like I cannot stand generally to see anyone getting taken advantage of, but specifically within this space, because we have been slaughtered, exploited for our talents, our inventions for centuries, and it really is enough is enough, you know.
That's why I really love what
tell
we
that
do
you
here.
love what you do, because it comes out of every pore within your body. Do you hear me? I mean, the joy that you feel in serving others, it just shines all around you, you know.
Thank you.
And it's good to do something that you really want to do and something that you love doing.
Yes, it is a privilege. It really is a privilege, you know, to even just be an attorney, right? Like our jobs are stressful. We work long hours. We, you know, we sacrifice and we take time away from our family, and everybody from the outside looking in think, oh, it's, you know, it's glamour, but it's a lot of sacrifice. But at the same time, it's, you know, this is a privilege. Like you have to apply to get a license to even practice law. And someone can tell you like, no, you're not even, you're not worthy enough, or, you know, you don't fit the mold, or whatever it may be, like give you pushback on just being able to even work in this profession. And it really is a privilege that I don't take lightly. And I really try to care about every single client before me. I'll tell you a quick story. After my first year of law school, I actually interned for a judge, King County judge in Superior Court in Seattle, Washington. And she was amazing. I had never seen a judge really take care and show care for every single person that came before her. And this one particular case, so she had a criminal docket and a civil docket. So she took both kinds of cases. She didn't just do criminal cases, she did civil cases as well. And there was this one particular case that really just stuck with me. And it was a homeless man. You could tell he had mental health issues, but he had stolen like one of the city trucks. And he was trying to like get away, and he ended up like crashing a truck like 2 blocks away from where he picked it up at. And once the police got him, he got in the police car and was like, oh, thank you so much for saving me. Like he thought some people were like after him. Like you could tell he was having like a mental health episode. And as they were doing what's called voir dire, is when the attorneys pick out the jurors, like who is going to sit on the jury pool. And after, at the end of voir dire, the defendant, he's the homeless man, he's the defendant in the case, and he wanted to represent himself. He didn't even want an attorney, even though the attorney was there, court-appointed attorney. He didn't want their help. Okay. And so the judge asked this one particular juror, a potential juror, would you be able to, would you be able to unbiased, like not have any bias towards him, would you be able to judge him fairly, essentially? And he just straight up told him, no. I mean, look at him. He didn't have, he could tell he was homeless. You could tell he didn't have, he didn't have a clean shirt, he didn't have nothing. He's like, no, look at him. I mean, I already think he's guilty. Like, look at how he's dressed. Just straight like that. And I felt so bad for the man. I'm like, oh my goodness. But I appreciate him being honest. That same day, after the jury selection had ended, the judge went to her chambers and gave this man 2 clean shirts. Steamed, they were dry clean. They gave him 2 clean shirts, and she said, I'm going to take this, you can have it, you can wear it. She gave him like some law books from her show. She said, I can't tell you what to read, but here, I hope this is useful to you. And when I tell you the level of care that she showed, and she did this to everyone before her courtroom, she really took the time to hear them. Like judges that you see on TV where they're just dismissive of people, that was not my experience of her. And it really just highlighted to me, and she modeled to me the kind of attorney that I want to be, right? I want to take care with each one of my clients, because you may have a lot of different clients and a lot of different things going on, but everybody's matter is important to them.
That's right.
It should be important to you because it's life changing, right? This is someone's business. This is someone's brand. This is someone's life. This is their livelihood. This is how they're creating. It's a privilege to protect what we are creating within the world. And so that's really, you're talking about how I approach, and like how you see me have such care for my clients, and what I talk about and what I do is like that's the level that was modeled to me of how I should approach each case, each client. And I keep that with me because, we get a bad rep.
Yeah. Attorneys get bad reps. You're right.
We get a bad rep. And it's like, no, we're not all that way. We're not all slimy, sleazy, you can say gift for gab or whatever you wanted to call it, but it's like I love people, and I want to do what's right for people, and that's just what it is.
Well, Christian, believe me, that comes from your grandmother, your great grandmother, your grandmother, your mother, and your father as well. Believe me.
Absolutely, yes. I was, this is how I was raised. My father we used to serve the homeless at the Oasis shelter in downtown Portsmouth once a month. And even outside of that, he would take me to like talk to different homeless people, and he would tell me, that could be you. You're blessed. Like that could be you. That could be you. It could be me. It could be anybody. It could be you any day. Right. And so he would actually walk up to the homeless people and just have strike up a conversation. He was like, everybody has a story. And that really stuck with me. And I'm still like that to this day. Like, I wonder what their story is. And then you learn, like, they used to be doctors, or they used to be in the military, or they had a profession, or like something just happened and it was like a spiral down, and then here they are. A lot of them have mental health issues.
Yes.
They don't have, family to care about them. They don't have the funds to get the medication and get the treatment. It's like there's so many different factors that goes into this person is not just homeless just for no reason. They're still a person. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that has always stuck with me. That was instilled in me from childhood, that no, you're not better than the next person. Like that could be you. That could be anybody, right? So even when I might be in my condo looking down, I can see like, oh man, it's a homeless person. It's like it breaks my heart to see that. Like that, it really breaks my heart to see that, because it doesn't have to be that way, but you understand that, man, that's a person, and they have a story, and what is it that I can do to help them?
They all have stories, and you would be amazed. If you sit down, like you said, if you sit down and talk to them, you would be amazed at the stories that they can share with you. Sometimes you think, oh, this is off, this is way over here. But if you really listen to them, you can really hear the message that they're giving to you. So that was a blessing within itself. That was a real life lesson.
Absolutely. I've always been, I even went to Virginia Tech, and I love our motto, ut prosum, that I may serve, right? Like, and we would all have a day that we would just, do some type of service to the community. Or, like you mentioned, I'm a part of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And like our motto is like service to all mankind. Like we're all in this journey. We're here on life, and we're all just a friend shared this with me, and it was so profound to me. She said, we're all just walking each other home.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
And I was like, ooh.
Yes, indeed.
That's very deep when you think about it, because
you better get a patent, you better get a trademark.
It's
very true. It's very true. I have a touch point. I've crossed, my journey has crossed with yours.
That's right.
Path,
That's right.
And it's like at some point you're going to go home and go on and go home, and we're all just kind of walking each other home. And it's like, it really highlights, it really charges you to show care and kindness and carefulness to how you handle people, how you treat people, how you interact with people, and really, take ownership of how you're showing up to different people, because everybody is on their own different journey. You can't take everything personally, right? You can impart your knowledge and your wisdom.
And stop judging people.
It's no judgment, right?
No judgment. That's right.
Everyone is learning their lesson.
Exactly.
At different times, and it's whatever they need to get, and then I'll get my lesson and I pass it on to the next person who may be in the same situation or something similar. But it's like, take care for the people that you're speaking and interacting with, because we're all just walking each other home.
Amen. I love that. You tell your friend, if it's not copyrighted, if she doesn't have a patent for it, it belongs to me. Okay. I love it. I really love that, because it's so true. And it's so true. And it's also true that God put people in your path when they're supposed to be there.
Absolutely.
Not a moment before and not a moment after. The time that they're supposed to be in your path, He produced them along your trail. And that's what He's done with you.
Oh,
me.
Yes,
Believe me.
Thank you.
And Roderick. You and Roderick,
right?
You both have been such a blessing to me beyond words. I cannot even begin to express what a blessing the both of you have been.
Thank you, Mr. Okay. Likewise.
Christian, we winding down there. And it's been
we can't, James. We can't.
Been a wonderful. I mean, we can always go over time, but I wanted to ask you this.
Yes, sir.
A lot of students that are thinking about law, or young people that are thinking about law, they hear about personal injury and being a prosecutor or public defender, things like that. Now, the field you are in is something, and you just expressed it very well, how you can go in there and be satisfying to you as a professional, but also how you can really help a lot of people. Yes. All the things we talked about on this show thus far, that people are involved with being content creators and being in their garage, making something easier for themselves that might help the masses. How important it is to be able to express to those people how important it is to be copyrighted or be trademarked. So what would you tell young students aspiring to be, or to go to law school, to be attorneys? How would you sort of tell them to take a look at the field that you are in, and how it can be something very satisfying and being able to give back to the community as well as being, helpful to yourself?
I think that for me, because that was something that, we always say, oh, I don't want to be a sellout, right? Or I don't want to just be working for the man, or I don't want to, sell out, so to speak. And for me, I love what I do. And from my perspective, I am giving back and I'm contributing to my community, but also I do pro bono work as well. And that is something that's very meaningful to me. And so with pro bono work, you can, I've helped women in domestic violence situations. I've helped men on death row, right? I've helped, help nonprofits acquire their trademarks and their brandings and other entertainers who don't have the funds to protect and secure their branding. And so just because you might not be a prosecutor every day of the week, or you might not be a public defender and you're trying to help Black people stay out of jail, or whatever your mantra or motivation is, it's still an avenue. You're still servicing people, and because you are helping us leverage the brand and their company and protect their content. And so you're still giving back in the capacity. And even if you don't go down in the intellectual property entertainment, you can always still do pro bono. And that is something that you should aspire to be. That's a way that you can give your service. You can serve your community in that capacity, even though you're not doing it 24/7. And I get so much reward and so much fulfillment from servicing and working with my pro bono clients. Like I just love that. And they, they don't know a lot of things, and you just can kind of take it and run with it, and really you feel like you're really adding value to their lives. So if there's someone who interested in intellectual property, entertainment, or even if it's like construction law or real estate law or banking law, like don't think that there is no opportunity for you to still reach back and reach into and get your hands dirty in something that is, public defender related or criminal related. Or also in my first law firm out of school, we had a program where we could go and work with the public prosecution office for like 6 months, and we learned how to do trial work and X, Y, and Z. I didn't partake of that program personally, but it was a program that was available. And so there are different firms and different things like that are available to you if you don't want to just commit your entire career to public service. And so that is something to continue to think about. It would never end. Continue to always do pro bono. I know a lot of our bars and a lot of our like jobs require us to even do pro bono work anyway. Like we really do value that within our field. And so it's not something to take lightly. I'm sorry. And so that's a way to give back. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it did.
Okay.
More than, believe me, you did.
And we're so fortunate here, on Portsmouth Coffee Talk to have had guests. We had another attorney, the local attorney, Alana Glover, and she practices out of Maryland. And she pretty much said that she does pro bono work. Said the same thing about giving back, and other attorneys and other professionals we've had on here. We've been fortunate to have, and you're no exception. I mean, you're one of those two that come on and really show a passion for giving back to the community. And
absolutely,
we really and we don't know that going in. It just happens that way. The guests that we get on here, we just want to share information from the guests we have, and then it comes out that person is passionate about what they do and what they do in the community too. And we really appreciate that about you, and that's why we want to continue to have you back.
Yes.
Whenever you come.
Listen,
so we can keep that information out there. We keep that information.
Your mother is also very passionate about what you do, because she's put on here now. Oh, yes, and she is an excellent litigator as well. And we can tell that. She didn't need to share it with us. We know that you are, because you have shown us that you are an excellent litigator, okay?
Thank you so much. Yes, I actually when I went to go try out for the competition team at law school, I had never done trials or anything. I just, I shadowed that judge. I interned for the judge after my first year. This is my second year of law school. And my professor was so impressed. She was like, "Have you done this before?" I was like, "No." She's like, "Do not ever stop. This is you're natural. You should do this." And I was like, "Okay," but you don't really go to trial as often as an attorney. Most cases settle. Like most times you just don't even go to trial. But it's the jest and the strategies like chess. I really do enjoy litigation as well.
Yes.
So thank you, Mom.
Yes, she's sharing, because when I failed to say that you remember the band, she put that up there right away. She was also a member of the band. So
I did everything at that school.
Yes, indeed. But
one other question I forgot to ask: if you are like Portsmouth Coffee Talk or something like that, and you're an LLC, how much protection do you have being an LLC as opposed to trademarking your brand, Portsmouth Coffee Talk?
So that's different. So the LLC is more or less your corporate
business part
consideration, right? Yeah, you have your trade name that you go off of, right? But it's limited protections. It's mostly just for the state too. But it's not federal. Like you can't stop someone else from using it in another state or something.
Portsmouth,
So you guys
Oregon.
do not have a trademark registration. You probably should go down that route and figure out what you need to do.
Yes.
Let me
We hear you.
well,
Portsmouth,
let me
Oregon
just
might have
ask a
Portsmouth Coffee
question
Talk.
too.
Exactly.
We had someone to
Or
come
New
on.
Hampshire.
New Hampshire,
Right,
Portsmouth,
right.
New Hampshire.
We had someone to come on that said that something to the fact, and James, please help me if I'm getting it wrong, that if you have a business and you write your business name and send yourself a letter, was that said correctly, James? You send yourself a letter and you don't open it, then that shows that you have had this name. It's a form of copywriting. Is that true? James, am I saying it right?
I believe that's the way the person said it.
They said that you can, if you have a name, have a brand name, send it to yourself in a letter. Don't open the letter, and that will serve as a
poor man's copyright.
Yeah, there you go. Poor man's copyright. Is that
I was
true?
going to say cheap, but poor sounds.
Is that
That's
true?
the phrase. That's the real phrase. It's a poor man's copyright.
Poor man's copyright.
But you want to make sure that you are actually doing it legitimately. Like, I would not totally hang my shingle on that, right?
Okay,
You want to make sure that you are, because like I said before, if it's something that you're using, for instance, that's important to you. Now, everybody, like I said, if I made that voice note on my phone, it's already a copyright, right? I can't enforce somebody you can't stop anyone from using it if you don't have a registration.
Okay.
So you need to register it if it's important to you and that you want to, protect it. But you can also just apply for a trademark registration.
Well, that poor man's copyright is a very, very temporary beginning.
Right. It's a quick fix. It's like patching up a hole just in case, but you don't hang your whole shingle on it.
You don't want to kick that can down the road.
Exactly.
Too far down the road.
They do need an attorney in order to get the copyright.
Yeah. Well, they don't. You can do it yourself. It's just that I wouldn't advise. I don't advise
because there's a lot to go into getting it.
Exactly. And there are different considerations and, like you may face certain pushback that you don't know what to do with. And, it's like legal jargon that, you could theoretically do it by yourself, but why not set yourself up in the best way possible and do things, in decency and in order and in the spirit of excellence from the jump, as opposed to like trying to, do it yourself and then needing to find someone like me on the back end where you could have just done that from the start.
And which would cost you more on the back end than it would have cost you if you had gotten an attorney in the forefront. So
what's that old saying? The person who represents themselves has a fool for a lawyer.
Fool for a lawyer.
Hello.
That says it all, right? That says it all.
Says it all.
Yeah.
My dad used to say that all the time, He was an attorney, so he would say that.
Yep. And even when I've needed things done, I've paid for attorneys. I'm an expert in every field. So, is why not set yourself up for success? Like you want to make sure you're setting yourself up for success and not cutting corners. Why are you selling yourself short? Exactly. It's an investment you're investing in. If it's something that you believe in, if it's your brand, if it's your business, it's the content you're creating, you need to make sure that you are protecting yourself and investing the time, energy, and effort to protect it as much as you are creating it and producing it. So, that's very important.
Well, Kristen, all I have to say is we didn't need to ask you any questions, really, because you laid it out from the time we got started until the end, and you've given a lot of great information to those out there who are on Facebook. And once again, I want to remind those on Facebook, if you missed the entire conversation, we will have it up shortly after Christian goes off. It would be on YouTube. And so, Christian, you can always have your friends and your family members to go on YouTube and they can also hear, because you gave a lot of great information. A lot of information. And we got like you said, we have a lot of young people out there who are entrepreneurs, who are out there starting business, and they need to know that there's certain steps that they need to make in order to secure their business. So you've given a wealth of information. And so those of you who know young people out there who are starting business, tell them to go look at the YouTube. Go look at the YouTube, Christian Hawthorne, and the message that she has shared with you on today.
Thank you.
Yes,
And if you have
subscribe our YouTube page as well. Subscribe to our YouTube page.
hit the like button, subscribe. And if you have any additional questions, please feel free to send me an email, message, or anything. My information will be in the description, I'm assuming.
If they were to send you an email, they would send the email to
C as in cat, Hawthorne, my last name, at P Perkins Cooley. And I can put that in the description box.
She will put it in the description box for any of those who may have questions. Okay. Then you got to pay her now. Don't think she's going to do it all pro bono. Okay. She can't do everybody pro bono. So
exactly.
Yep. We all have to eat. We all have to eat.
She has to live as well. Yeah. So
yes,
and I had a lot of notes, and as you were talking,
James,
I was just mocking stuff off.
I didn't get to any of them. I didn't get to any of them.
She answered that.
Okay, great.
Like I said, we love the kind of guests you are, because we've had guests and we had to pull, well, anyway.
And it looked like the hour just goes on and on and on and on.
The thing is, like, it's a sign of the times too, right? Like, everybody doesn't know how to have a conversation.
Exactly.
And a lot of people don't have, interpersonal skills. It's a skill set to sit down and be able to talk with someone. And I didn't even realize that until you do talk to certain people, and it's like, trying to pull hen teeth to get a conversation going. So you guys have been great. Thank you for having me. It's been a great honor. I'm happy to, speak with people, like I said, from back home. Like, I love Portsmouth. I love my city. I love the things that are going on in the city. And whatever you need, any additional questions you have, I'm always here. I'm not home. I'm hardly home, but I'm always repping. Please know.
And Christian, and Portsmouth is for people. All kinds of people.
All kinds of people.
Exactly.
To live, work, and play.
That's right.
and to piggyback on that conversation piece, you talk to people, because you never know. Because when she came on, before we came on air, I remembered this young law student that I was at a function with, telling me that she wanted to go into IP, intellectual property law. And it stuck in my mind, because I never heard a young person say that they want to go into that field, because I think most young people say, oh, that's boring. Who wants to be in that? And it turns out it was her. It was at this function at Roger Brown's political function, and she was there. And I think I talked to her because I knew she went to Norcom, and then she was going to be an attorney, and that came up. And I remembered that today when she came on air. I said, that must be. So have conversations with people. You never know where it might go.
You never know.
Circle. Come back full circle. Your families, your friends, your aunties, your grandmas. You never know who or who. We're all connected in some way.
Oh,
so
believe me.
Never be afraid to put yourself out there. And if it's one advice I can give to people from Portsmouth or any marginalized community specifically, is do not shortchange yourself just because you are on the fringes of society, or people think that you can't just because of where you're from. Like. Believe in yourself. Like, just believe in yourself. And if you're knocking on the door and it's not open, you knocking on the wrong door. Just keep knocking.
That's all. Go to the next door.
Don't be afraid to put yourself out there. The only thing they can tell you is no. And rejection is just redirection. So just keep going.
That's why I think one of the biggest things we do here on Portsmouth Coffee Talk is feature people from Portsmouth that have gone on, other places in the country and in the world, and have done amazing things. So that's one of our mainstays here.
Before you go, just share with James and those out there. Remember the story you told us about the man who you were going to work with, and and you found out. You share it, because you're telling a lot more than I'm telling it. Okay.
So a quick story that actually ties into just believing in yourself, and it's a lot of great people that come from Portsmouth. Now, I've met a lot of people, and I just know that we're built and we're bred differently, right? And so I got into, like I said, I got a full ride into law school. I was an admissions fellow, which is someone who represents the school for like new and prospective law students. And the dean of admissions had retired. The dean of admissions that, brought me in and was there. He was a Black man, adored him. He was great. And our Black community was just really strong. And so he retired my second year of law school, and I was really sad to see him go before I left. And then we got a new dean of admissions, and he looked like the other deans. He didn't look like me. And I was like, it was my last year of law school. I really wasn't interested in getting to know him. I just kind of had written him off because, I'm on my way out, and hey, he'll take it from here. And, my loyalty was with like the dean that was already there. And so we had a orientation, I think in the spring or the fall of my last year of law school. And so as an admissions fellow, we're there, we're introducing ourselves. I'm saying, I'm from Portsmouth, Virginia. I'm from Virginia. I'm trying to explain where I'm from, et cetera, et cetera. So the new dean of admissions is at this program, and he comes up to me afterwards. He's like, you said you're from Virginia. Like, can you just share with me where you're from in Virginia? And I was like, oh, I started saying I'm from Portsmouth, Virginia, which is near, Norfolk, Virginia Beach area.
Like
right? Because a lot of people don't know exactly where Portsmouth is from.
Right.
And he looked me dead in my eyes, and he said, I'm from Portsmouth, Virginia. And I was like, can I give you a hug? He was like, yes, I think he said he either went to Churchland High School or Manor High School. And he's like, yeah, Missy Elliott stayed down the street from me, and I'm from Portsmouth. And I was just like, oh my goodness. And see, I had totally written this man off, misjudged him. Like, I don't care to
once again, the case of prejudging.
Literally totally prejudged this man. This man was from my hometown. Okay. Do you know I was up in his office a lot? We became really good friends. It was just it's something different about, seeing someone from back home, like out in the world, because you know what it is to be. It's something about Portsmouth is just so special. You know what it is to be like from Portsmouth, right? So when you make it out and you're doing great things, and you just see someone else that's from your hometown in this community, it's like, oh my goodness, I was immediately like, can I give you a hug? Please, I need to hug you because you really are my people. Like, what?
He probably was just as amazed.
He was. I was like, oh my goodness. And so he came from California and all this stuff. I didn't know he was from Portsmouth, right? But yes, we are doing great things. Do not think that just because you are from Portsmouth that you cannot make it in life, or that you can't go on and do whatever it is that you want to do. I was rough around the edges when I first started, and I didn't know what I didn't know. But when I tell you that street smart and that book smart, it's the way to survive out here. It's the way that you have to make it, and you learn as you go, and I just pulled on my mentors. I pulled on my mentors and your support system, your family, people that's gonna love you and care about you, because once you step outside your house, don't nobody care about you. So like, know that. And just keep going. It's going to be hard. There were times where I wanted to give up. There were times where I wanted to throw in the towel. There were times where I was like, I don't know if I'm even, worthy enough. Do I have it? I have like imposter syndrome. Am I good enough? And can I make it? I don't have these same academic credentials. I didn't take these classes that they took. I went to Norcom. Like, they didn't prepare me for this. But, with grit, we're so gritty, and we're so passionate, and we're always like the underdogs. And it just gives you this, like, okay, you tell me I can't do something, I'm gonna do it better than the next person. Like, that's the chip you have on your shoulder, and you just go with it, and just be yourself. Do not think you have to change who you are to make it ahead in life. Do not, sell yourself short. Just do the hard, put the work in to get to where you need to be, and you will be okay. Be proud about being from Portsmouth. I love that I'm from Portsmouth. I would not change it in the world. I love my city. I love my people. And I'm happy to do whatever I can do to help anyone, from my hometown, or just anyone that looks like me, or anyone that's trying to, become an attorney. Like, I'm that person. It's like, can I have law students now calling me doing interviews? I'm like, you can call me on a Sunday. I do not care. You do not have to be very formal. Like, whatever you need, I'm here for you. And I just want to, whatever I can do to make it useful for you and helpful for you, so that you can avoid the pitfalls or some obstacles or some challenges that I had along the way. I'm happy to do that. But most of all, just believe in yourself and know that you can do it.
All right.
We'd like to thank Attorney Kristen L. Hawthorne for being our guest today, our special guest this evening. And like I said earlier, we're going to have her back, and we really appreciate you and all you had to give, to share with us, and so we can share with others. And we just appreciate you. And and one other thing, I want to make sure you watch the Rose Bowl Monday.
Yes.
Norfolk State Spartan Legion will be a part of the Rose Bowl,
That's
and
right. That's right.
I'm sure it's a few Norcom band members that are in a part of the Spartan Legion. So make sure you watch. This is they've never been on a national, if I'm not mistaken, on a national scene like this. I think I heard them say that on the news. I thought they had been somewhere else, but anyway. Make sure you watch the Rose Bowl and watch Norfolk State, our HBCU, our local HBCU here, as they perform. You won't be disappointed. You know, I'm sure they can be prepared, right, Leah?
Yeah, they
Your
would not
alma
be
mater.
disappointed at all. Believe me. But
Okay,
Kristen, for my
thank
final
you.
words,
Go ahead, go ahead.
once again, I thank Crystal for birthing my two children for me, you and Roderick. I thank her often. I tell her she was a wonderful woman to carry you all for 9 months and birth you for me, both of you. But I want to thank you and Roderick, I put him in there too, for all that you do and all that you continue to do for the Norcom family. You all have been such a blessing. And I tell you what, I like I said, I'm a firm believer. God puts you where you're supposed to be when you need it. And you and Roderick have appeared at the time when we need you more than anything else. And you two have been a blessing. And I was just so excited when that you were coming on. And I've just been telling everybody. And so if we got any children out there who are interested in going to law school, please tell them, watch this video, because the information is here for them. And Kristen, I just love you so much. And thank you. And thank you, Crystal, for having my babies. But
Thank you.
You all are wonderful. You all are wonderful.
Thank
Okay,
you.
and I will also put this on my Slim Nation podcast. So look out for that as well.
Good. So we have it on
So
three forums.
It's gonna be everywhere.
Forums.
Yeah.
Good.
I'll send it to you, Crystal, once I put it on the podcast so you can listen to it. Okay. Boston Coffee Talk is here for our voice.
I'm sorry. Our community.
And our future.
We salute you.
Okay.
We salute you, Kristen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take care.
It's been an honor and a privilege. Good night.
Yes. Good night. And we'll see you next time.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so very much.
Go Cowboys.
Greyhound Pride. Greyhound Pride.
Go Greyhounds.
Greyhound Pride right here, honey.
All right.